we have this buzzword going around ChatGPT, like 3.5, 4, and there is like generative AI, neural networks, different aspects of it that a normal person who is not associated with the computer science field does not completely understand. So can you please walk us through what that is and explain it to people who are not from the computer science field? How is it being in all girls hostel, and what are the social dynamics that impact that life?
Oh, it's so much fun. All unicorns and all the girls party in their pajamas all night. I wish it was anything like that. But I think for students, it is really, really important to take advantage of all open source resources that are available to you. Data scientist, you are responsible for those decisions. There's another buzzword that's going around for data scientists. It's decision scientists because you're helping make very crucial decisions for the company. I think most importantly for women at large, it is important to voice your opinion in such a way that they are heard.
When you look at some candidates who are trying to apply for AI role or a data scientist role at your company, how do you evaluate them when you're looking at from a resume perspective?
Because life of an immigrant is not very predictive, not monotonous, not always happy and sunshine. Every other day you will be looking for documents because you're filing F1 OPT, STEM OPT, OPT, then H1B or something or the other. So it is always something or the other constantly is going on with you. She still had a smile on her face and she was gracefully leaving the court when a small Sita Maiya, very young baby Sita Maiya, went running to her because she idolized.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey guys, how are you doing? This is the DIP podcast, and we have with us today the wonderful Piyusha Bishash. Is that the right way to pronounce it? I almost get it right every time. I'm probably gonna get there eventually. Welcome on the show, Piyusha.
Thank you.
So, her last name is Biswas in English, but in Bengali it's Bishash. And I'm trying to get the pronunciation right.
Bishash.
Bishash. Okay. Yes. So, thank you so much, Piyusha, for joining us. To tell something about Piyusha, she started her journey from Nagpur, and she went on to do her engineering in GH Raisoni College of Engineering. After graduation, she went on to work for L&T for 2.5 years, 3 years in Pune. She then decided to pursue her master's from data science. Then she eventually worked for one of the companies in Charlotte, Duke Energy, which is a very prominent company, as an AI engineer. She then went on to work at Fractal. She joined Fractal, and then she's been working with Fractal for the past 3 years as a senior data scientist. Thank you so much, Piyusha, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to talking to you on this podcast.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. So let's get started. We'll start with your initial days when you were a kid growing up in Nagpur. Nagpur was not as big a city as it is today. And while you were growing up, how was that environment? And talk us through some of those experiences.
Yes. So I used to live in a very small town close to Nagpur, which was somewhat of a private town of Birlas because my dad was an employee in the Aditya Birla group. So we had all amenities, all the facilities, world-class facilities that you can think of. So childhood was extremely, extremely comfortable. And at the same time, I grew up in a bubble. I did not know what the real world outside actually was like. Um, so I think it had both good and bad to it. It was that it was comfortable. I did not have to worry about anything, and it was fun. I had access to all kinds of things: swimming classes, dance classes, singing classes. So all those things really helped shape my personality as a whole growing up.
That's really nice. Nice. You were moving from one city to the other. growing up because of your dad's job and stuff like that. How challenging is it for a kid to keep switching schools from cities to cities while trying to maintain a social life? I know kids don't have that much of a social life, but just those bonds that you form at an earlier age, you're not able to form that. How was it for you?
Changing schools is definitely not that easy because you have to reacquaint yourself to a new hierarchy in the classrooms. You have to understand the temperament of your new teachers and how things work there. Uh, you have to make new friends again. And there's a lot of anxiety that comes with it, uh, with the academics, because lot is expected out of you because you are the new kid now.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely not very easy, but it also ends up giving you a lot of courage to
Mm-hmm.
conquer it because you have no other option. So you have to conquer it, rise up to the occasion.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, thinking of it as a encouragement is a very mature way to look at it. But I'm pretty sure as a kid, it's not that easy. So then you also went on to go into a hostel. So like you talked about social dynamic. A hostel life is a completely new beast, right? It has its own social dynamic. I have been to hostel. You have also been through a hostel life. And how is it being in all girls hostel? And what are the social dynamics that impact that life?
Oh, it's so much fun. All unicorns and all the girls party in their pajamas all night. I wish it was anything like that. It was anything but that. It was a very, very competitive environment. I feel when you put a lot of women together in one space, they tend to become very, very extremely competitive, cutthroat competitive, I feel. So that was the case there also. But I also made a lot of new friends who helped me navigate through a lot of new things, like doing my own dishes, washing my own clothes, being responsible for yourself. There's no maid. You cannot call your mom to pick up your plate. You have to do it yourself. Um, yeah, in that process, I really made some really, really good friends, which I'm still in contact with. And it just feels nice that you have gone through a phase of life together because they were also figuring it out like I was. And we all figured it out together. We cried together. We laughed together. We played pranks on our warden together.
So some of those pranks you want to talk about?
No, there's one that I can probably mention. So we were not allowed to have cell phones, but I was very homesick when I first went to hostel in my 11th grade, and my dad did give me a cell phone,
Mhm.
and somehow we managed to find girls who had phones also because it was a very secret thing. Nobody would tell each other that they had phones, but we found each other, and we all decided, okay, we all will take one room because we are all vested in hiding other person's interests, so nobody will sell each other out.
Mm.
So now we were in one room, and we used to have random spot checks to check if anybody had a cell phone. And whenever the wardens would randomly knock on our door, we we always had onions in our room. And whenever she would enter, we would start cutting 2 or 3 big onions.
Okay.
Then she would come, and obviously it's very irritating to the eyes, right? And she would her eyes would tear up and all, and she would get so annoyed, like, why the hell are you girls always cutting onions? What are you doing with it? So many onions. No,
Wow.
they're just making pain.
Wow. What sorcery is this? Like to repel an warden, you are cutting onions. Man.
Yeah. And imagine 11 p.m. at night, we are cutting onions to have pain. But anyway, so that would just make her leave fast, and she would not really check because she's already suffering and crying from the onions. So she would not check a lot. She would just, just for the heck of it, she would just, sift through a few clothes and something, and she would leave. So that's how we saved our mobile phones for a long time.
Wow, that's such a good hack for people who are in hospital
Yes.
watching this.
Cut onions.
But yeah, cut onions. That's the thing. So that's really interesting. And these hacks, like I know this, I probably think this is one of the most innocent ones that you can share with us today. But many more of these stories in hostel. So the kids don't have much of a say when they're trying to get into hostel. But some parents that they're probably thinking of putting their kids into hostel. Can you give them some insight of what the hostel life looks like, though it helps you grow and it kind of helps you speed up the growth process tenfold in the hostel life? What kind of a dynamic is there in the social hierarchy and stuff that you emphasized on?
Um, so whenever a kid, I, I, I mean, if you're talking about kid, I'm thinking of a middle school kid in fifth grade or something. Um, but whenever one goes to a hostel or in any new environment, I feel it is very important that you build your own community around you in terms of friends or be in good terms with the warden or the mess in charge. You have to build those relationships to have a comfortable life. And it does not always come very easy because you're homesick, you're missing your parents, you're missing their food, you're missing all the comfort that you would originally have. Uh, so it's really, really important. Make friends. For some, it is very difficult. It used to be difficult for me so to make friends. Um, but it helps. You have to make friends to get through those difficult times.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, how were you as a student? How was your perception of academic studies while you were a kid? I know you have a lot of creative energy around you. You are a very good singer, beautiful dancer, and other things as well. So, how did you look at academics from that perspective?
Thank you. Uh, I think it's really, just from my personal experience, I think it's really important. Then, in addition to your academics, you must have some or the other kind of hobby. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the creative field. You could read books, you could like watching birds, but you should have one hobby that helps you channelize your uh, energies in some good direction, because the pent up energy that is not being spent in the right direction can easily lead a kid in the wrong direction, in wrong company, um, in, make them think about all the things that are going wrong instead of being able to focus maybe on that hobby.
Mhm.
So I think the academics that I had, like the kind of education access to education I had was really top of the class because, of course, of the whole Birla institution. But at the same time, I also had access to singing classes, dancing classes, yoga, swimming, etc., etc. That really, really helped me shape my personality as a kid and helped me build confidence of all things. And a confident kid cannot be bullied,
Mm.
and that's really important, I feel.
Absolutely, absolutely, and especially in the hostel environment where such things happen, it is important to have your inner confidence, self confidence, and any ability that will help you creatively express yourself boosts that and gives you an outlet to channelize your energy. So talking about academics, how was it for you? In terms of, were you a bright kid? I am pretty sure you were. But how did you perceive your academic success as your overall success while you were growing up as a student?
Um, I was a very serious student in school. I was always in top two, top four, or something like that. But I feel that also meant that I hit my burnout very soon. And I was very fortunate that my mom understood that. She understood it, and she was also very supportive of me during that phase because failing was new to me. Failing as in not performing at par with my previous performances. So that felt like failure to me. Like my world had come to an end. What am I good for?
Wow.
But having a parent or somebody tell you that it is okay, it's fine. Your life is not ending. You still move on from this. that means a lot to a kid. So I think that helped me move on. And I still had my co-curriculars. Dancing was the major one. So I relied on that. I was still dancing. It kept me happy. I don't, of course, the kid doesn't understand the kind of mental issues that they would go through because they don't know what to call it. But you feel anxious. You don't know what's happening. You're not scoring anymore. You're working hard where it's not giving you the results it used to. But these co-curriculars, we just discussed how important it is in shaping a kid's life. They keep you going. Ho jayega. It will work out.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually, after I hit my burnout, in my 11th and 12th, when I went for my IIT AIEEE coaching, I was initially doing decent. But then I realized I can't do it anymore. Like, I can't pull this off. I won't be able to enter IIT or NIT or something. So when I just knew it. I can't do it. I have hit my max. So I'm just going to live on my life from now on. Have make memories, have time, fun with friends. And interestingly, I don't have much memories, fun memories from my school. I have most of my fun memories from my hostel days and onwards because I just stopped taking it seriously when it came to academics. I did take it seriously to a point that I was decent, I was scoring above average, and it would just not close doors for me.
Okay.
It's that much. And I was having fun.
That's nice. That's nice. And hey, that is so important, right? The aspect of the balance that you described, not leading to burnout, but actually trying to push yourself enough to be above average. At the same time, trying to do more things that will enhance your memory repository, if I may say so. And over a period of time, you can use that, and those are the things that you will remember. At the same time, you don't close your doors by not being enough or not doing enough for your own academic success or your career success. That is the very important balance. So what happened when you were thinking about IIT and you let your parents know about, hey, this is not working? How was their response to it?
So I very clearly remember that moment I told them we were in a car going somewhere and we were talking about my grades and everything. And I told them that I don't think I'll be able to crack it. So I may not be able to get into IIT or NIT. And there was pin drop silence in the car. Um, and nobody said anything for a few seconds. And then my dad said, but then you have to try. How can you give up and everything? Which any normal parent should say. They should check with their kids. Is it just a phase? They did. And I just told them that I don't think I can do it. I'm just not able to take it anymore. Those long study hours, and I'm not able to retain things. And I don't have the drive for it anymore. And I think drive is the key word. If you don't have the drive for something and you may have the talent of the entire world, you will not be able to achieve that particular thing.
Mhm.
And that's what was lacking in me at that point. I was just done. I just wanted to have fun.
Makes
So
sense.
eventually got comfortable with the idea. Not comfortable, but they were not pushing me very much. It's like, do your thing. We know you'll be okay eventually.
I mean, it's so nice that you had supportive parents who understood your situation and acknowledged that. At the same time, they didn't pressure you into doing something that you were not okay with doing or you didn't have the drive at that time to do. So, kudos to them and their parenting. So then what made you choose engineering as a career? Like from 11, 12 to engineering, you have so much creative energy like we described, and you could have gone in any field that would help you creatively explore a lot of different options. So what made you choose engineering, and walk us through some of those experiences at that time?
I did not choose it. It was chosen for me, like many other kids in India. But I see that as an opportunity as well because it gives you 4 years of undergrad versus 3 years of undergrad. Otherwise, So you get a lot more time with your friends. You get a lot more time to meet more people and more time to pursue co-curriculars on the side along with it. Yeah. So that was a good experience overall.
And then you decided to pursue your career in data science, right? You decided to do your master's in data science. How was that switch? What made you focus that this is the field that you want to be part of and make a career out of it?
Yes, I was selected through a campus drive into L&D Infotech, where right after joining, I was working on some kind of tool that was related to data and analytics, but it was in the testing side, but it still had a lot to do with number crunching and all. That spiked an interest. And I also had someone in my family who is a very successful person in his field, in the field of data. So that was again another, you know, motivation. Okay, this is a field, this is a real field that you can make something out of it in data. Because I did not have much knowledge about it at that time. And then my mother, she encouraged me to go and do a master's in whatever I like.
Nice.
Uh, yeah, she was really cool about it. She even told me, even if you don't want to study, just go and have fun in the US, go see a new country, which was very cool of her because I believe she trusted me enough that I would make something out of this opportunity if she gave me, which I hope I did. So I came, and that's how it came about being. I applied to universities, and then I accepted an admit at UNC Charlotte. Uh, yeah, that's how it came about being.
Nice. And then walk us through some of the experiences in UNC Charlotte. You came to do masters. You are in US, completely new country. And then you tried to explore different fields. I think you were first in IT, and then you tried to switch to data science. How was that transition like at UNC Charlotte?
Yes, so I had originally gotten accepted in the management in IT program.
Mhm.
Uh, and management in IT and the data science concentration in our department had the same prerequisite courses. And that's where we had one course which had introduction to ML, machine learning algorithms. Uh, and I thought, okay, I can do it. It seems intimidating at first, but when I took that course, I realized, and when the professor started teaching, I realized it is not that far fetched. I can do it, I think.
Mhm.
So I talked about it to my friends, asked a few people around who joined UNCC ahead of me a couple of semesters, that is there something I can do now? And somebody told me you can file a petition. So I went and spoke to our advisor, Sandra Kraus, and she was very, very welcoming of the idea for me to change my concentration to data science. And yeah, she helped me with the whole process, and I was able to make a change.
Nice. So, like for people who don't know, in US, the academics are such that you can choose pick and choose any course that you want to take, and if you are interested, you can pursue that, or you can drop that course along the way. There is the first week where you can try out different courses, audit them, and you can drop the courses by the end of the first week when you have to finally decide what 3 subjects or 4 subjects you want to plan for that semester. And this gives you an advantage to try out new things and figure out what fits best for your requirements or what you're aspiring to become. For someone who is trying to do that switch or trying to figure out their career or subjects that they want to choose, what would your advice be for them?
Just ask. It is okay even if you are asking a very trivial question, because you are just a student, and it is understood that you will not know everything. You are in a new country, in an entirely different education system, so you're not aware of everything, and people understand it. And when you ask respectfully, they'll be more than willing to help. It may seem very intimidating at first when you arrive in a new country to approach professors, to approach your advisor, seniors, but it is okay. Everyone is here to help, and And in my experience, professors are more than happy when a student reaches out to them and asks them really good questions. And let me say, no question is a bad question when
Mhm.
you're starting out.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this whole drive to know more and trying to figure out that path rather than staying quiet and making mistakes on your own. Does that help in the long run, or does that, hamper your progress when you're trying to make a move in the career, or just generally when you're navigating through student life?
So masters in US is there's one more dynamic, right, to this whole setting, and that's your visa. So you don't have a lot of time to work on your progress. You have to figure out everything very fast.
Correct.
So I would say get help. Ask. It is fine. You are meeting people at parties. You can also talk about these things at casual settings, on a walk with your friend, or you see a professor going to a new class. Just walk with them. Ask
Mhm.
them real quick. Just get yourself started. Where to look?
Correct.
Look at the right places. You may not know even where to start.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think this question, this curiosity of asking questions and trying to figure out is very important, like Piyusha described. And this whole consciousness about if I ask a question, I look like a fool is not something that is healthy, or it is common. Everyone goes through that. But I think you have to overcome that barrier and try and ask questions because that will help you get the results quicker or arrive at a conclusion faster. So Piyusha, walking through from the student life to the professional life where you were actually trying to navigate through a new field. AI is not something that is that is not well described path. It is something new that you are trying to pay for yourself. How challenging was it when you were trying to navigate through those paths for your career?
Very challenging because in the field of data science, everybody is looking for 10 years of experience. So it was extremely difficult to get my foot inside the door. Uh, but you have to make networks. I think it's very, very important to build those networks. And challenges will come because you are an immigrant, and a lot of government policies also affect the job market, like it did when I was looking for a job. Trump was in power. He was changing a lot of rules every day, and the companies who used to hire students on OPT, OPT is optional practical training, that a period of time, I think 3 months or something, that you get after you complete your masters. Um, so OPT, a lot of companies who would hire students on OPT were not doing that anymore because the rules weren't clear anymore. And after going through so many interviews, I was told by the HR, "Oh, we didn't know that you are um,
OPT visa.
visa
Yeah.
on a F1 visa, and we don't know what the rules are anymore. So until the dust settles, we won't be able to hire you." And that was so disappointing, so disheartening. So it was also a game of patience for me at that time. But the times have changed. It's getting better here. It's not that challenging anymore in from that point of view, but it is challenging in a way that more and more people are entering this field now, and they don't need a degree anymore.
Wow.
Yeah, because data science is open source, right?
Mhm.
Uh, think ChatGPT, the most famous one right now. So you can get access to GPT-3, you can play around, you can build your own thing with the algorithm. So yeah, everything is open source as long as you are willing to learn. There is somebody out there who doesn't have a degree and can beat you at it.
Wow, that's a really fascinating information. Like so for people who are trying to understand what data scientists do or what data science actually is, can you walk us through some of those examples? So what you do at your day-to-day work and what does the role of a data science scientist look like?
Yes, absolutely. So a data scientist would first collect data, right? As the name suggests, you have to deal with a lot of data. And in the real world scenario, data is messy, it's raw, and it is unmanageable. So the job of a data scientist is to understand these systems and how to make them work for themselves, right? Uh, like if you have text data, what kind of database would help you the best, right? If you have related data, so you should know relational databases to make those connections and to be able to query that data, because not there won't be a data engineer always available to help you. So you have to be self dependent. Okay. And that being said, you first collect data and then you crunch it, you convert it into a format that is readable by the machine. And then you use, then you try to gauge what kind of algorithm, what's the problem statement, is it a regression, is it a classification or something else. You try to pick an algorithm, you run those experiments, and that's why they are called data scientists. You run experiments with your data. How are you able to explain the data best? How are you able to explain the outcomes best, right? So you crunch that data. It could be a good old analysis. Not all problem statements need a machine learning algorithm. I think that's a very important nugget that I learned when I was working. You don't always have to run an ML model. Sometimes an analysis is good enough
Mm-hmm.
solve a problem. And you do those things, you get the results, you use certain metrics to understand those results, what they mean. And the most important part comes at the end is how you convey those results to the leadership, to your audience, whoever they are. And in most cases, your audience is non technical.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to find a way to tell a story that is compelling, interesting, and gets your message across
Mm-hmm.
that even a layman can understand.
Correct, correct. I mean that is so important. The aspect that you described about storytelling, right? Storytelling aspect is something like in your academic progress or when you're caught up with so many different courses, assignments, and projects, you don't really get time to invest in that skill, the communication skill aspect of it, or the storytelling aspect of it. So, what would your recommendation be for people who want to be like you, had that job, right? Storytelling aspect. How do they work on that particular skill while they are students?
I think for students, it is really, really important to take advantage of all open source resources that are available to you. Tableau has a free version. Many other, I think Power BI also has a initial free version. So use those, learn those tools, create dashboards, create PowerPoints for your academic projects, uh, get it peer reviewed by your friends, your apartment mates, uh, anybody who would hear you out.
Mm-hmm.
Get it reviewed. If your friends who have not seen or heard about that project before, and if they're not able to understand, you have your first learning from there. How can you make it better? So I think this is a really good way of testing out your skills when you are starting out as a student.
That's really nice because I think the data, most of the executive decisions are made by this data, right? There is so many critical, uh,
Companies are shaped.
exactly. Like they are making so critical decisions for their company's paths depending on the data that you're providing. And like you described, so much data, and you just have to put it in a simple picture for an executive to understand and make a decision. Can you walk us through one of those examples? You probably must have worked on one of the projects earlier on how that comes about. Like, how do you do that in real world?
So in real world, the kind of template uh, that I've been following is first you establish your problem statement. If your problem statement is not clear, your solution won't be clear, right? So the problem statement has to be very, very well put, well framed, and uh, best if just it is just one sentence
Mm-hmm.
and not with a lot of commas. Just
Correct.
one. Like for example, the goal is to predict inpatient admits in next 180 days. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't add for those who are above this or that.
Yep.
Very simple. Keep it very simple. One statement. Establish your problem statement. Then write your hypothesis. For every problem statement, you will have some kind of assumption, right? To start with, you don't, because there are infinite number of possibilities, right? So you design a hypothesis, what could be true or what could not be. And if it is a completely unseen problem, it is okay. If you don't have an hypothesis yet, that is fine too. Now you move on to your solution, the algorithm you used, the metrics that you used, right? And then you show them the results,
Mm.
right? This is what we found.
Correct.
This is one template. Now, there is something called executive slides, executive summary. And for students out there who are yet to hit the ground, executive summary is something that has all the information in one slide. So, because, executives don't have a lot of time
Mm-hmm.
through 5 or 10 slides. They want nuggets of information that are easily registered and very easy to understand, basically. So, the second template is that you have one slide, explain the problem statement and the results. That's it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
That's
impactful.
very difficult to do.
Absolutely.
All right. Yeah, but you have to do it.
And it's also providing all the information that you have, right? It's not like excluding some information that you don't
That is very,
have it.
yeah. And at work, I've seen many a times that, I have come across colleagues who have very conveniently excluded information because it was too complicated to explain. But in my personal opinion, that's not ethical.
Hmm.
Data scientist, you are responsible for those decisions. There's another buzzword that's going around for data scientists. It's decision scientists, because you're helping make very crucial decisions for the company. And those companies are actually working for a very larger population
Hmm.
and in critical fields sometimes. So you cannot mess up. If you mess up one decimal, it can sometimes, in very crucial scenarios, lead to deaths of hundreds of people. If you're working in pharma, right?
Mhm.
There's a very, I don't exactly remember the story, but there's a very famous story about some pharma company where they created a device and they messed up the decimal of the dosage. The device was to provide some kind of medicine to the patient, but they messed up the dosage. And like their whole clinical trial, the analysis and everything was based on one thing, one numbers, and the actual machine was designed on some other number. So I think it's really important that you see what you're delivering to your stakeholders.
Wow, that's so.
Information.
Don't miss the decimal point to break it.
Yes.
That scared me a bit. I mean, this whole debate about AI being ethical or not ethical, and these mistakes that can have so many repercussions, uh, is challenging for a layman to understand. At the same time, he is also trying to figure out what the next best thing is, to make sure that they are employable or they can generate enough productivity using these tools. So, talking about the perks and cons of technology and AI, we have this buzzword going around ChatGPT, like 3.5, 4, and there is like generative AI, neural networks, different aspects of it that a normal person who is not associated with the computer science field does not completely understand. So, can you please walk us through what that is and explain it to people who are not from the computer science field?
So generative AI is something that can crunch a lot of information for you and generate a result based on all the things that it has learned. Um, Learning can happen from several different kinds of algorithms. Generative AI is not new. What ChatGPT is doing, it's not new. Uh, the knowledge has been around for years, for decades actually, but they have packaged it in a really, really effective and somewhat responsible way. So there are a lot of generative AIs, for example, for converting. I'm sure all of us have used those apps, right? Where you can convert your face into a cartoon,
Yes.
Picasso's style, right?
Mhm.
Your pictures. Those are also generative AI tools. They generate an image based on a learning from some other thing.
Mm.
Uh, that has always been around.
Wow, wow, that's nice. So, so for the layman, how will this impact their day-to-day lives? Like this, I think touches a lot of fields, and at the same time, this is looked on as like an internet moment for the world, or like the smartphone moment for the world. How do you think this AI will impact a lot of normal lives in their day-to-day behavior?
Uh, I think one thing that Chat GPT has brought is accessibility. Now, these kind of generative tools are accessible to everybody who has a smartphone, and I think a lot of people these days do own one. Uh, and it's bound to happen that a lot of your decisions are going to be influenced by that. While that is true, it is also important that all of us have to be aware how are you using those results, because no AI is 100% correct,
Mm-hmm.
right? They are prone to errors to certain degrees. And you have to be aware of that fact and consciously, ethically use those results and whatever you are using that AI for.
Nice. I mean, that is so important to understand, right? The pros and cons of technology and the errors that it can create. At the same time, human intervention to make sure that it's doing what it's supposed to do ethically with respect to humans. It's a challenging field, and for someone who is just getting started, I think your example is really going to inspire them to do the right thing. So, Piyusha, tell me this, like this journey that you have come to, like this, it was not smooth sailing at all. You had to go through a lot of you know zigs and zags. Like there were a lot of routes that you had to take and figure out for yourself and pave your own path. And being a female engineer in a new field like AI, how many headwinds did you have to face? Like for people who are trying to figure out, for females or girls who are trying to think about this field, or just you know manifest their own dreams, what would your advice be for them through your stories and experiences?
Um, because you said female, there are a few things that I feel it is true for both all genders or non-genders. It's true for everyone, but I think most importantly for women at large, it is important to voice your opinion in such a way that they are heard. Be assertive, be clear, because women tend mostly, I'm not generalizing, but mostly they tend to be soft spoken and they get uh sidelined in a lot of meetings. I remember back when I was at working at Duke Energy, I was the only female sitting in every meeting, and it is intimidating when you are just starting out. It was my first job. It is intimidating. I'm sitting with old white dudes in meeting rooms, and yeah. So you are okay. It is okay if somebody says, "Oh my God, she's a diva. Oh my God, she's too loud." It is fine. It's okay. You are not answerable to them.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you just have to make sure that if you have an idea and you think it is worth something, worth a penny, just share it. Make your voice heard. Be assertive. Be clear. Don't be clear your ideas. And with this, I also I think what helped me as a person was to be able to articulate my thoughts. That is very important. And especially when you're not used to talking a lot, when you're not used to voicing your opinions a lot, you initially struggle with that,
Mhm.
articulating your thoughts. So just practice. I talk a lot to myself in front of the mirror before my interviews or something, just to get in that mode, right? So be in the practice of talking.
Mhm.
Uh, it could start with your friends. Discuss about topics with your friends so that you're able to voice your opinion. And second thing is, I've seen a lot in me and around in my female friends. There's chronic self-doubting that happens, uh, and it is okay. Fake it till you become it.
Yep.
Just keep faking it until you start believing, okay, this is the person I am. This is who I am. You are that confident person. Just fake it. You will become it.
Wow, that's really insightful actually. And talking about self-doubt, it is also like part of it is imposter syndrome, where you feel like you haven't made it yet, or you have faked it till wherever you have reached. I think the feeling that you get when you have achieved a lot and you look back and you feel you don't give credit to you, right? When you are that. So how did you face such situation in your career, and how did you deal with it?
Um, I have faced such situation in my career when I joined Fractal. Everybody around me that I was working with was either from IIT, BITS, or NIT, some good universities from India, and I am not. So I had a lot of inhibitions that will I be able to, work with these people because I had an assumption that they are operating at a different level. But I then told myself, I gave myself a talk.
Hmm.
Data science is open source. There is no hidden recipe. Everything is available on the internet. If you just look for it and if you're interested in learning, you will find some or the other resource to learn it. And also, the data science community is very, very warm. If you find any forum, even if you find people on LinkedIn and you say, hi, I've just come across this algorithm and I see that you are working on this or you have worked in the past, I would really like to discuss with you about this. I'm sure most of the people would be very excited to talk about these topics with you.
Mhm.
So I think that's a bonus to belong to this kind of community, which believes in open source and knowledge sharing and helping each other out on forums like Kaggle, GitHub, and several others.
That's really important information for someone who is trying to get into this field, right? And when you look at some candidates who are trying to apply for AI role or a data scientist role at your company, how do you evaluate them when you're looking at from a resume perspective?
Yes, so I have had the opportunity to interview a few college graduates and experienced candidates also at my company. And the one thing that I'm looking for in the resume when I'm skimming through, because when you get resumes, you get a lot of resumes in bulk. So you don't have the time to go through each and every bullet point. So the one thing that I'm looking for is are the real projects that they have worked on. If you are an experienced candidate, I would try to look for projects from your previous job experiences. And if you're a new graduate, I would want to look at your academic projects or your personal projects. Coming back to students, uh, it is important that you have an extensive GitHub repository and you have a link or a barcode that will take me to your GitHub repo and I'm able to see everything there. Yeah.
Nice, nice. And because most of the people don't know that this is what is required in their resume, because they're coming from a different academic setting or a different work environment or job exploration opportunity in India. And for them, this is new. So thanks for sharing that information. So when we were talking about women in STEM or women in AI engineering, there are also some people or men who are there in the field, but they don't exactly understand, um how do I put it? how do we make sure that women are more comfortable in our environment? What is the one thing that we should avoid or we should do in order to make sure that uh, people are felt more inclusive? And yeah.
I would like to start uh with an example.
Mm-hmm.
When recalling my time at Duke, my programming partner, he was a very, very supportive. I would call him a true feminist because he would use his privilege, his male privilege, to let me voice, to help me, not let me, but help me voice my opinion. Because a lot of times, because it's a general biological thing that men have louder voices than women. So, in a meeting, in a room full of 10 men and one woman, your voice may sometimes be suppressed. So, what he would do is he would very gently say, "Oh, Piyusha, you were saying something." There's like, "Yeah, I was saying this." So, as men, use your male privilege in such graceful way that that your female colleagues don't feel awkward, also feel supported at the same time.
That's really nice advice, because most men don't know exactly how to do that, right? And thanks for sharing that important nugget. That will help more women actually in the field, and also men make that environment helpful, or whatever they can do to
Yes.
help that cause. So thanks for sharing that. Now coming to the non-academic.
One more thing I
Correct. Go ahead.
it's a very personal experience. I would like to add this one last point to this. How to make women feel more comfortable at work. Don't make sexist jokes. Even if it is a joke, don't make it,
Mm.
because it is really crumbling somebody's confidence out there. Like, I am a very bulletproof woman. These things don't break me, but I have seen other women around me broken down by these kind of jokes. Like, and when men are called out, most often they would be like, "It was just a joke. Chill." No, it is a reality to someone else that you are joking about. So just if it there are several jokes in the world. Choose, pick one of them. Don't make any sexist jokes at work.
Yeah, that's another important thing. So thanks for sharing that. Uh, so now talking about your journey apart from academics and career is also some of the personal challenges that you go through, right? Moving from one city to the other, finding jobs with a limited time period, and having a different kind of a emotional roller coaster going on when there are emotional things happening back in India and you have very less control about that. How should one navigate through such uncertainties, and can you please walk us through some of those experiences that you had?
Yes. It's definitely like any other human being. It is very extremely difficult. When I went through some personal losses, or different kinds of hardships when I was working or when I was looking for a job. And in those times, I've come to realize it is really important to build a healthy community around you. And especially from a female perspective, it becomes more important because you cannot go to do your own grocery at 11 p.m.
Mm.
Will be kidnapped.
Correct. Yeah.
Kidding. But it is a fear that every woman has, right? So you have to build that kind of community around you that can help you in really bad situations, or when you're going through hardships, emotional turmoils. And yeah, in general, this community will come to your rescue when your family cannot,
Mm.
because they are so far away, right? They are not an hour away, but
Correct.
your friends are.
Correct. Correct.
So be that kind of environment for yourselves.
Yeah, that's really important, and I think that probably helps. In that, those are the people that are family away from you, right? Or family away from your home. So, that community building and networking is important in some aspects, and then having those emotional bonds through experiences also makes that relationship grow and helps you in ups and downs of life.
Yes. And this also means that you also have to be available for them. It is not a one-way street.
Absolutely,
You
absolutely.
have to show up too. That's how you build a community. And in those times, those difficult times, another tool that really helped me was meditation. And I cannot sing enough praises how much it has helped me when nothing else has. Meditation is something that will keep you sane, because life of an immigrant is not very predictive, not monotonous, not always happy and sunshine. Every other day you will be looking for documents because you're filing F1 OPT, STEM OPT, OPT, then H1B or something or the other. So it is always something or the other constantly is going on with you, right? So you have to find your anchor. And I found that through meditation. And meditation is not the only way that you can find your anchor. It could be through other channels also, like reading or just going for a job. But it is very important to find what works for you.
And that's really important insight. Like you said, meditation and the mental aspect of the immigrant life is something that is not talked about. People basically just look at the Instagram pictures with beautiful views in the backdrop every weekend, but they don't know that we don't have a family to come back to every Sunday night, and that can cook good food for us. So there are different challenges. There are trade-offs that we need to make, and I think those are the reasons. Those are the voids we try to fill with those random trips that we try to make.
Created reality.
Yes, exactly. So it has its pros and cons, no, not just the negative aspect of it, but those are the trade-offs I feel we are trying to paint for people who are trying to pursue this journey, so that they have the accurate information, they're ready, they have the tools that these people or the host, or sorry, not the host, the guests on this podcast have used, and that will probably help them navigate through this journey in a more smoother manner than what it is, right?
And the host has too.
No, the host the host doesn't have as much as information as these guests have. I've learned so much from all of these people. So
Learn from you too, everyone. You cannot deny that.
edit this out. Thank you so much. So, Piyusha, I know you have been very gracious of your time. And before we part away, I remember there was a story that you told me back when we were in UNC Charlotte. And we used to have these back and forth debates about different topics, different perspectives about global affairs, current affairs, and stuff like that. And one of the stories that you talked to me about was how it takes a village to raise a kid. You described about a story between a debate that happened from between a Rishika and Vishwamitra, I guess, at that time. Can you please walk us through that story? And I think I'm pretty sure it will be inspiring for a lot of people listening to it.
Yes, I love that story. And yes, so the story goes like this. Mithila was a kingdom where knowledge was very much respected, and all the rishis, munis, philosophers were invited from time to time to have debates so that the general public can learn from them. Right? When they hold these debates, they ask each other questions on certain topics, certain philosophies in the society, and the learned, the philosophers, munis, they would answer based on their knowledge from Vedas, their own thinking. And that's how they shape the thinking of the masses in the kingdom. And in one such debate, when Vishwamitra was visiting Mithila, and they were holding this debate, and nobody got up to challenge him because he was the most enlightened one at that time, and every man in the court was really scared of losing, and out of respect they did not participate. But there was one lady, one Rishika, who said, "I'll challenge him." And everybody's like, "Oh my god, she's so disrespectful, how dare she?" And she was like, "This is a debate, right? And we are here to compete, to challenge him. Then I will. There's nothing wrong in that." And there was nothing wrong in that. This is not a disrespectful act. And she did. She asked him questions. He asked her questions back. They did back and forth. in this debate. And eventually she lost. And she still had a smile on her face, and she was gracefully leaving the court when a small Sita Maiya, very young baby Sita Maiya, went running to her because she idolized her. She was her favorite because she was the only woman she had seen growing up who would participate in these debates, won't fear away from voicing her opinions at the right places. So she really looked up to her. And she went there and she asked her, she told her, I was really sad that you lost and nobody participated. Why would you participate when you knew that you were going to lose? And she was like, listen, if I did not ask those questions today, you would not never learn to ask those questions. And as a lady, for you to learn, it is really important to have that courage and ask the right questions, and that's how you learn. And not just you, everybody learned today. And you as a growing kid will be influenced by a lot of people around you, because it takes a village to raise a kid, right? And so all the minds have to be shaped in the right way. And there's not a better source than Guru Vishwamitra's knowledge to do that. And had she not done it, Sita would not have seen a woman who is so courageous and so confident in her skin to stand up there and hold a debate, hold her ground in front of the great Vishwamitra.
Wow. Wow.
So yeah, Sita was completely overwhelmed. Oh my God. Yeah.
Wow, that's so inspiring. I still have goosebumps when you shared that time and even now. And thank you so much, Piyusha, for sharing all those wonderful journeys from not being able to make it to IIT to working with the people who have made it to IIT in Fractal and showing them that you are the boss, and making and paving your own path in the field of AI and data science, and inspiring so many people listening to this to take up this field and make it their own. So thank you so much for sharing those wonderful experiences with us. And if you have any parting message.
You can, yeah, my only message would be that you can, all the information is available when it comes to data science. It is open source. The one thing that you have to really put effort in learning is how to use it ethically. That is something that's really important because it's a very responsible job, and it affects a lot of people. When if you get an opportunity to work in this field, you can make a huge difference.
Hmm.
uh, Trust me when I say this, it feels fulfilling. You feel a purpose when you work in this field and are able to influence so many decisions and so many people's lives. So just use this power ethically and be able to tell that story effectively, and you have done your job.
Nice. Thank you so much for summarizing it, Piyusha. It has been a wonderful podcast. And if you want to reach out to Piyusha and have any of the questions you have, reach out to us on LinkedIn, Piyusha Biswas. I had a description link to it. Please check that out. Or if you want to reach out to us via email, you can reach out to us and we can get you connected to Piyusha on the DIP, the indianperspective.com website. So, and we will get back to you guys with a new podcast next time. And that's it from our side. Thank you.